Give a warm welcome to Dan Westall, please.
Right, first I'd like to apologise, I've changed the title. During building the slides I realised it wasn't actually a prototype, it was more dealing with WordPress as a full-blown application platform. I'm going to take you through any slides, I'll stop at the end of the slide because there's quite a lot of information in this. So instead of having questions at the end, I'm going to go questions per slide, one or two, and we'll go from there. Right, I'll try not to say a lot as well. Give that a go. Right, a little bit about me. Freelance in London, and I've worked for WordPress for the last 6 years. Predominantly that's what I do most days, but I also work with PHP frameworks here in Laravel. You can find my website is obviously my name, and my Twitter is my name as well. So, how long has WordPress been an application platform? Well, the first official mention that I can find of WordPress as an application platform was in the 3.5 release, which was back in 2012. They started moving towards an application platform when custom post types become an everyday thing, along with custom taxonomies and all the stuff in between, really. Before then, WordPress, as you know, was a blogging platform. While you could bend it your way to do more advanced stuff, it was quite hard and required quite a bit of knowledge. But with 3.5, I consider that a keystone release. It made it a lot easier. Recently, in the last year's WordCamp in San Francisco, Matt Molyneux, whatever. In the state of WordPress is a key application platform for enterprise, well, all the way up to enterprise from small businesses. So, what are the advantages? Well, one, you got out of the box, create, read, update and delete. Out of the box user permissions, predefined database structure, large library of plugins. Now, those of us who roll out our own applications on PHP frameworks know that some of these features, while there are packages out there, normally require a lot of time to set up, especially user permissions, which can snowball quite quickly. So, but with WordPress's built-in user permissions, you can get there quite fast. So, now there's a few key plugins within the WordPress plugin architecture, where library would be a more accurate description, that can really get you half the way quickly. Post-to-post is a great one. Anybody used it in here? Yeah, that's good. Advanced custom fields again. Cool. Right, this one's a weird one. Custom post types to a taxonomy. Anybody heard of that? Very nothing. Cool. I'll go through all of them in a bit more detail and how you could use those within an application as we go through the slides. So, and then you've got another few. WordPress Front-End Pro. This is quite a recent one on the scene. It's a paid plugin. They do have a free version. This allows users to edit posts from the front end without you having to do extensive gravity form customization. With a GUI on the back end to allow you to create the edit forms. Very snazzy stuff. It also allows permissions and direct feed straight into create custom post types. Well-known one, gravity forms. I'm sure everybody heard of that. And taxonomy metadata. This is a plugin. I'll go through that in a bit more detail because that's quite a key one. It's also got some trap tickets to ongoing conversation in WordPress. So, tips and tricks. These aren't plugins, but features code that could be considered a cornerstone of creating WordPress as an application, using WordPress as an application. Oops. So you've got extending the RPCs.
Sorry for such a newbie question. Yeah. Could you take a bit of time to define what an application is?
Yeah. Our website is a brochure site. We've all seen those. Anything that requires more advanced user functionality. So, for instance, ever heard of Basecamp? That would be considered an application. Something that allows the user to interact more than just read. So they can view, they can create, they can delete and update. That is what I consider an application. So we've got extending the XMRPC interface. Again, I'll cover this in more detail as we go forward. Shadowing users with a custom post type. This is a trick. Again, I'll weed this into how you'd use that because it's quite powerful, but it requires usage areas. Extending post meta of custom tables. This one's not a very particularly well used one. Again, it's pretty advanced stuff. Steve Taylor done a great article about doing this, and he's actually referenced there. And another one, again, feature of WordPress that's not very well known, URL endpoints, more of a developer feature. So any questions about that bit? No? Cool.
Dan, what's a URL endpoint?
URL endpoints allow you to stick within the rewrite. So say you had a post called, I don't know, basket. You could tell WordPress to recognise an endpoint on that. So whenever you put basket/view, you could get WordPress to serve you up a PDF or some other. It allows you to default with staying in the basket, but allows you to change templates or do more advanced behind the scenes. So, well again, I'll weave that into how you'd use that within your application. Right, so we're going to do 2 examples. Who's the boss? Just a regular corporate hierarchy with some extended functionality. And class management, so if you're a teacher, how you'd use this type of functionality in a platform, how it all linked together. I would have liked to have had some code, but there's quite a lot of information here, and if I'd got bogged down in code, we'd be here for quite a while. So, who's the boss? This is the first one. Now, with post-to-posts, which is one of the key plugins, it allows you to dictate a relation between another post type. So in this one, we've got quite a few post types, with relations linking them together, and information on that relation, along with users and taxonomies and taxonomy things. So I'm just going to go through it step by step, start with the CEO and hopefully work our way down. Okay, so the CEO, finance director and development director are all custom post types. Custom post types are just a position, but they all report to somebody. So we'd set up a custom post type, we'd set up a post-to-post, a link, a relationship between these positions, so that the finance director reports to the CEO, and development director reports to the CEO. And then obviously you can go down, further down, all the way down to minions if you wanted to. Now, that's great. So we've done the structure within WordPress. We've got your positions. You've got the relation that they serve, who they serve. That's a bit of a wrong word. Who they report to, more politically correct. And then under that, we can then say, okay, Ben Smith, Jane Smith and John Smith served as finance directors. And then what we can also do with that relation is then implement relation metadata. So we can say, okay, this person served at this position between this time. You can also extend that and say, okay, this person served at this position during this time, and then you could have a rating on the position relation. So you can say, okay, they served between 2007 and 2013. They've done an all right job, so I'm going to give them a 5. So, and then you could query that position, who worked for it, within those dates, within a rating. That's what the type of relation allows you to do. Now, you could do that with meta fields. I'm sure a lot of you use advanced custom post types, and they allow you to define a relationship on the post object, I believe it's called. But that's not ideal. One of the great things that makes WordPress so advanced is predefined database structure. Now, you've got metadata, which I don't know how many of you have actually looked at the metadata, but it's simply an ID, a post ID, a meta key, and a meta value. The meta values are all the same, effectively, as far as the database is concerned, regardless of what is in it. Now, that gives WordPress a great deal of flexibility when you're using it, but in terms of scaling, it can be a bit of a downside, because the database has to look for everything, and it's not knowing what it's looked for. So it's normally in a normal database, when you have relational stuff, you tell the database, okay, you're looking for a number, or you're looking for a field. Within the meta table, it doesn't know. You just say, oh, I'm looking for this, which, if somebody says to you, oh, I want a pen, you're going to take a while to find just a pen. But if you say, oh, I want a blue pen, you know straight away you want a blue pen, not just any colour. And that makes it a lot quicker. So moving down, so we've got the users, and this bit here, Ben Smith, Jane Smith, John Smith. Now they're custom post types with advanced custom fields associated with them. So that we can use the featured image as an image of them, or we can use, we can file a brief bio, any number of historical facts, or anything really. We just use advanced custom fields and go from there. Now, say we want to know where that person works, offices around the country. How do we know that? Well, we can associate a taxonomy with that. And as you all know, taxonomy is pretty powerful, which is great. But say you want to start putting data on the taxonomy. Okay, we want to say, okay, they work in London. That's great. But say if you want to, okay, can I have a picture of the office? Well, I can do a description. Now, this is where WordPress quite an internal debate. Now, if you want to start associating meta with the taxonomy, it gets sticky fast. Now, I personally like to use custom post types taxonomy sync, which allows you to sync a post type with a taxonomy, and then you use advanced custom fields on the associated post type to store the additional information, which is great because then when you're doing more template work, you can just query on a metadata and then pull up the taxonomy and then do a taxonomy query. That's a pretty powerful one. I'm going to go through a bit more detail on the next slide. And then you notice here, we've got the user associated with Ben Smith. Now, I don't know how much, who's here dealt with the user now? Who here likes dealing with it? Well, I'm not a fan personally. It can be a bit clunky, switching in and out, especially when you're already within a custom post type loop. You have to switch out to a user loop. It's not great. So what I've come up with, what I found easier is basically to shadow a user with a custom post type. So when the user is created, you just use a new user hook and create a custom post type. And then when the post type's created, either link them using post to posts, or just use the meta to link them with the user data ID. So, and then, okay, why would you do that? Well, one, you can use advanced custom fields straight away on the Ben Smith custom post types. If you're just doing user meta, you can get, it's tricky. You can obviously add fields to a user profile page, but it's a bit, it's not great, I don't like doing it. And plus you can't use advanced custom fields, so you'd have to create your own meta boxes, callbacks, any additional stuff that's required. There are plugins out there that allow you to build meta panels on users, but I like to try and keep plugins to a minimum, well that's not always possible. But in this instance, you're already using advanced custom fields. Why would you use another plugin to do another set of meta boxes? So with this arrangement of a shadow user and a custom post type, we only have to use one metadata plugin. So, any questions on that? Cool.
Yeah, so I mean specifically talking about the use case of linking a user with a custom post type when you're storing profile information in the custom post type.
Yeah.
How do you relate that to sort of the user information that is sort of native to WordPress in the profile screen that the user might want to go and edit? I know like nobody uses ICQ or whatever it is. They have the various profile fields they have.
When I'm doing that, I try and keep the user information that they store in the user to a minimum. Name, surname, email address, and obviously the role. When it comes to stuff like extended stuff like ICQ, what you do is when you create a custom post type of Ben Smith, you set his user as the author.
Yeah.
And then on the community, you just say that user can only change his custom post type, his own one. And then when they go in, you just call it extended profiles, and when they go into WordPress, if the users are set correctly and custom capabilities, they can only ever see their own one and just call it extended profiles. And straight away they click on extended profiles, they see their own, well, with a bit of inventive management of menus, you can forward them straight to their own custom post type. Because you go.
I'm only asking so many questions because I'm doing this at the moment. Something I've run into a bit of a sticky problem is with keeping things in sync when an administrator is going in and editing. So say an administrator wants to delete the user, change the user level, create new users, and that sort of thing. Not so much on creating users, but on deleting users, I'm running into problems keeping that in sync. Do you keep that in sync? Do you have a method for doing that? Or?
WordPress should do that automatically, especially when you say delete any post by this user. Because that post type is set as the author, when you delete that user, it automatically will delete his profile.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I
WordPress
was trying
handles
to
that
do
for
it
you
the
as
other
well.
way, and that's, I was just a bit, yeah.
Yep.
In terms of finding these relationships, obviously it's quite a complex
Yeah.
structure that you need to make sure stays in place. So I'm assuming this isn't set up for the admin and anything can change.
No, unfortunately not. There's no GUI for post-to-posts. It's all code-based. This is one of the cons at the end. This type of structure within WordPress would be hard to set up. Well, it's near enough impossible GUI-based to set up. You have to do.
I would say that's probably what my income would be like. That's probably better in a way.
Yes.
The site relies on this complicated structure to be in place in order for it to, the whole site to work. Then I think anyone, I know there was probably user permissions you could set, but if the user went in and said, oh, what's this? I'll move this around. The whole site falls to pieces.
Yeah. No, it's all defined by code, and also when you're setting your users, obviously decent role-based permission, which is all baked into WordPress. Nathan.
I was going to say, within advanced custom fields,
Mhm.
you can actually set a field set to the user pages, so potentially you wouldn't have to
All right.
mirror it, and you can set that based on user role as well.
Yeah.
as to what field straight.
That's great if you're not doing huge amounts of work within a WP query, but as soon as you want to reference a user within WordPress, you've got to switch out to a different loop. You've got to start doing I think it's WP user query. It's not just a custom post type. So, any other questions? Yep.
So, is this all different post types you're linking, or are you doing a hierarchical post type?
So the finance director, these positions is one post type. These users are another post type. This location is another post type, and that's the taxonomy there.
Right. So, if you're talking about a business structure, you have the boss and the subordinates.
Yeah.
Do you have that relationship with the hierarchical post type?
So yes, in theory with post parents, but it's very limited. What this would allow you to do is, so these three guys report to the CEO, but with a post parent, yes, you can do that relationship because you can just say that's his post parent. But that finance director or the business development director may also report to the finance director, and straight away post parent falls apart.
Right.
Whereas this one, with post to post, I can link them straight across to the finance director and go from there. So when I'm building the front end, I can say, okay, show all relationships, and we can show all relationships. Yep,
Sorry.
that's all right.
One other question then. When you do your CTP to taxonomy, what
Yep.
advantages does that have over just using a post-to-post relationship?
Taxonomy templates. Straight away, taxonomy templates are WordPress standard. I can just go, oh, okay, I want a taxonomy / URL, and it will show me Ben Smith, Jane Smith, and John Smith, depending on their location and taxonomy I used. If I linked it straight away
Can
to
you
the
elaborate on that a bit? I'm not sure. I
Yeah.
understand.
So do you know when you build a taxonomy template, you just go to /categories.
Like an archive?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's baked out of the box, but if I was to link it straight to the custom post type locations, I'd have to do more extensive template work.
Yes. I see. Okay,
just one
thank you.
question. I think you mentioned, I'm sorry, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you mentioned that the CPG employee bio, but that's user, isn't it?
No, that's a custom post type.
That's custom post type.
Yep.
But technically, you mean it's a user, is it? Like Ben Smith and Jane Smith are users.
Yeah, these are their bios, the custom post type. And this one here is just an example. Obviously, they'd have their own ones. Ben Smith is the user, and that's his shadow profile.
So I'm just thinking about things like, so there are some situations like my client, for example, they request sometimes that they want a more additional use facilities. Like I use this plugin called a WordPress user avatar, which
Right. gives
extended capabilities. Is it also possible to give extended capabilities to this custom post type just in case if you're using it as a user?
Yeah, I mean that's one of the advantages. Obviously, you can hook into the user thumbnail, but
Okay.
when you're using custom post types, the featured image could be effectively their bio picture, and then you just use the extended functionality that you get with them.
Oh, right, okay. Right.
So that's an advantage. Cool. Next slide. Yep. Okay, so moving on to the bit about locations and taxonomy themes, because this has some gotchas. Right, now I like the taxonomy to, this custom post types to taxonomy sync, because that has some key advantages. It allows me to associate advanced custom fields with the taxonomy, with the custom post type. Now there is stuff out there that allows you to use metadata on a taxonomy screen, but I'm not a fan. There's this plugin here, don't want to walk over there, this one here, that allows you code-wise to associate metadata. And then when you go to a taxonomy screen, you'll see its name, colour fields, whatever you ask it to. Now out of the box, this one stores the taxonomy options in the options table. I don't consider that good practice personally. The options table should be just that, theme options or WordPress options, not taxonomy metadata. So that gets sticky fast. Now you can refactor that code to use a more advanced plugin called Taxonomy Metadata. This one adds a proper metadata database like the fields have. This actually was written for inclusion in core, which I'll get to later. So that great plugin, so you can refactor that code and tell it to use this one with not a lot of effort, and I have done it in the past. So there is that. Yeah, it's all right. I don't like the meta panels either. It doesn't keep in with the theme when I'm trying to do that. So hence the reason I use the shadow, the sync, and then I just use advanced custom fields. Again, it's one less thing I have to include as another method of using meta panels with an object. Cool. Any queries? No? Just, no, I'm not picking on you now. Right. Now, we've gone for a basic one. This one's a bit more, I'm going to try and use a lot more methods. So, say you're building a thing for a classroom and you want to be able to put together classes. So, we've got multiple custom post types. So we've got the class custom post type, the classroom custom post type, the building, the subject. We'll go into that white red lines there. We've got the comments, we've got the user teachers and teacher profiles. So, where do we start? So we've got the class. Obviously, we're going to go, okay, we're making a class that deals with maths. Great. And I'm going to use document library. So that's another custom post type with a file attached. And I just attach that in the post to posts. And then I'm going to attach a classroom. Great. So now the student knows what documents are supported for the class and what classroom. And then you've got the building as well, which is associated with classroom. So classroom 4A and building 2B. Done. And then with post to posts, we can actually link relationally user accounts. So we can say, okay, this user is linked to this classroom, and this teacher is linked to this classroom. And I can define that code base. And then using the shadow users, we have the extended teacher profile. So we've now got a class with what documents are supporting, what students should be attending, what teachers should be attending, a bit about that teacher and where it's happening. And then to improve upon that, okay, well, I want to reference in the future, these are all the class subjects, so this is an English class. And then I've done that as another taxonomy sync. The red line indicates that you could set those fields using that bit of code I told earlier that dumps the options into options table, but I prefer the tax sync. So there is some overlap between the plugins I've recommended. And then obviously you can use gravity forms, and the students could submit questions to the class. So with that we've used post to post, advanced custom fields, custom post types, taxonomies, gravity forms, we've used shadow users, and because we're based student and the teacher, there'd be roles. And we can define the relationship when we're defining post to post, we say, okay, only allow linking student roles, only allow linking of teacher roles. And then go from there with permissions. Any questions? Cool. Right, so taking what we've built here, this goes on to the hosted app applications, and using WordPress-MU, it gets pretty crazy from here on out. So we've built a theme, we've built the relationships, we've got this great application. Now how do we scale that? Now, we could just do multiple WordPress installs, but if you're dealing with a lot of WordPress installs, it gets crazy fast. So what we could do is extend the XML RPC interface to allow us to start up blogs or start up additional applications based on what you've done. This requires a whole chapter, especially in the new part, because there's a billion settings that you need to default set. So what you could do is extend the XML RPC interface, which by default doesn't allow you to create blogs on the fly. So you extend it and say, okay, I want now to create blogs. And then underneath from that, you could build a bidding platform, where it's on WordPress or PHP framework, that's up to you. But you extend the XML RPC interface, and you say, okay, to your WordPress and you install, start a new blog, these are the defaults. And very quickly, you have yourself a hosted application, because you can now duplicate what you've done already.
Can you explain what XML RPC interface is?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
briefly,
it's an XML interface for controlling WordPress. You've probably used it. Anybody here used the remote WordPress apps on your phone to update your website? That uses the XML RPC interface.
So it's like an API kind of thing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, WordPress is XML. It's not an old it's kind of an old technology, but it's currently not the trending technology. Then the WordPress, there is moves in within WordPress to move to RESTful API. Currently that's in the plugin base and will be included in core. They're looking at about a 3.9 release. Realistically, I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to be a 4.1 for a RESTful interface.
Sorry,
control WordPress.
Could you repeat that again, sorry?
XML is not, it's a valid technology, but it's not the current trending technology. So they're moving to a RESTful interface within WordPress, or the ability to have both. The RESTful one was started last year, and it's currently in the plugins to core.
Okay.
They're looking to include it in the core, about 3.9, maybe 4. I think they're going to be late with it because it's huge amounts of functionality to time with WordPress. So yeah, that's coming soon. So that's what it basically allows you. The XML interface, going back to the original question, allows you to control WordPress remotely. So we've extended it, saying, okay, these extra methods, like start up a new one, you can quickly double your work. Any other questions? Cool.
You tried using the Ajax format, so you
I haven't tried using that yet.
I had better success with making an endpoint for I had an iPhone app that I wanted to integrate with my WordPress site.
Right.
You register a callback, you can just use that as your endpoint for
Okay.
and I spat out JSON back because I didn't want to use XML RPC sites. The only problem with that is you have to add build my own authentication through it,
Yeah.
whereas XML RPC allows you to authenticate through it.
Yeah. It's an area that I don't really touch that often because it's quite specialist. Yeah.
I think it's a completely unrelated question. You assume we're talking about multi-site.
Yes.
Doesn't that allow you to create blogs?
No, it's not. Yeah. It's not. I thought it was as well, but I've recently done work to extend it to allow you to do that.
You know, you're right.
Yeah. It was not by default. But it also allows you to, if you're building platform, you could say, okay, when they haven't successfully paid, there's no reason you could put an extended method in that, saying stick a great backing notice on top of their application saying please pay soon. It allows you really to interact from remotely into your application. Next. Anything else?
Do you have any working example?
Working example
I mean, something like
of XML RPC. I'm currently working on one. When it's going to be finished, I'll do a demo.
I'm glad to see that, thank you.
Okay, so these are just some of the track tickets. That Taxonomy metadata plugin that I spoke about at the beginning, that was originally created as part of a track ticket, as a core contribution to the core. A lot of people would argue that Taxonomy metadata should be in core, and I'm one of those people that say it should be in core, but they're taking their sweet fucking time about it, excuse the language. So it allows me, I have to have flow, I have to have extended, whatever, I'm not going to get into politics. Post relationships, another one that this one I'm kind of on the fence whether it should be in core or not. It's quite a niche part of WordPress, but I think it would allow WordPress to grow going forward. And again, the person that made posts, he's one of the core contributors and quite active on the track tickets, and he's one of the core talks about it in the track. Cons. Okay, the cons of doing so. WordPress admin. straight away. It's great, and it will get you 90% there very quickly. The last 10%, impossible. A recent example of this would be Happy Tables. They originally been in admin and then gave up and then built their own admin. It just gets, you can do so much of it and you can get pretty close. But the last 10% is maybe possible, but it's not worth the time. Scaling, maybe be a problem. I know some of us in the audience have experience with scaling, so it may be a bit of a problem, depends how good your code is. You can't do this without any code, this is not GUI-based solutions. There are some plugins and themes out there that allow you to create hosted applications through GUI. I haven't tried them. Perception is another big problem. This one deserves its own slide. A lot of people probably in this room have lost work to Drupal or other more advanced CMS, or in the eyes of the person that pays the money, more advanced. Normally they say, oh, okay, we want an application. I'll say, well, there's price ranges obviously. WordPress is the low end of the budget. If you want a custom framework, then you're looking at a bit more. And then it snowballs from there. And you say, okay, they go for the cheap option, they go for WordPress. Hits their IT department who don't deal with WordPress every day and probably didn't since their blogging days. No, I can't use WordPress. It's a key active, one of my biggest gripes with WordPress ruling body. There's lack of education of the outside core group or the outside meetups. WordPress is just a blogging platform. That's rubbish. You can do a lot more, but it is what you'll run into often when you're suggesting WordPress as an application platform. Any more questions?
Part of me thinks that looking at a model like that, you might be better off going a custom solution, because in essence you've got these custom page types and you've got a great graph there, but at the end of the day it's all one table or two or three tables. Is there anything that you think that WordPress brings that's probably custom that doesn't do it? You said at the bottom, right, but like, I'm not sure how much I know about frameworks, but I know there's like scaffolding which you can use to make stuff pretty easily.
Yeah. I use Yi and Laravel myself to build up other applications, not just on WordPress. It depends on traffic. If I was doing a heavily traffic site and the budget was there, I wouldn't go for WordPress, and being pretty honest with you. If you're doing a little application, or even if you want to validate an idea, you know, okay, I've got this great idea, the guys at the company say, yeah, okay, give it a whirl, but we don't want to spend too much time on it. And it's not going to ever be experiencing huge numbers. Why not prototype it on WordPress, and then once everybody's, oh, this is a pretty good idea, the budget's there, everybody's on board, then you jump on a custom framework and roll out a scaling platform. That's the reason the original title was application prototyping. Validating an idea, and then if the scaling or it's not quite comfortable, you can bin it, no love lost. If you think it's going to be something big, then maybe you should move to a more custom solution. Now, there is a con with this. Recently I built, not recently, 2 years ago now, they didn't have a budget. They wanted to build an application, and then they wanted to go get investors. So they wanted to validate the idea. So I built them the platform, great, loved it so much. Actually, we don't want to spend more money. We just want to use the one that you put together quickly, because we think it's great. 2 years later, they still haven't, and now they're getting it done in Node. But that's another story. People can get comfortable with what you built, and they don't realise that it wasn't meant to scale past thousands of users. It's one to be, well, it's right here, it's right in front of me, I'm using it. But it's not what, it's just a perception issue again. Lack of technical expertise, something to watch out for.
So, what numbers are you talking about with regards to WordPress can use it? So if you build something that's quite popular, so you're saying if you get like 25,000 users, then it's not, and you're getting more.
If you get 25,000 users hammering at the same time, yeah, you're going to need a custom solution. If you get 25,000 users over a month, you should be all right. With a decent hosting, shared hosting will kill you. Decent hosting cannot be emphasised enough if you're scaling. There's been some particularly great talks about scaling in past. That's just a quick look up on past ones, some of the videos, and they'll talk about it. But if you start getting, obviously there's a level where a custom application will be preferred. But decent hosting, you'll hit that just a little bit later, and not straight out of the box.
And another thing, your slide before about the admin, WordPress admin. Can you just, because I'm a layperson, I don't really, some of the stuff is going over my head because I'm a developer. But what do you mean by the WordPress admin? Do you mean to get rid of the WordPress admin?
If you want to customize the WordPress admin experience, more than just a theme, it can get complicated fast. It allows you to do it allows you to do a lot. You can introduce taxonomy drop-downs within the post tables. You can introduce custom columns, custom menu items. But if you really start pushing past what it looks like,
You need to get rid of it.
it can get it will get in the way.
I understand what you just said. You might talk about adding new panels in, because all that stuff's quite easy.
Yes, all easy. But if you so by default you've got the menu on the left and the posts on the right.
Yeah.
Now adding columns in easy, adding menus easy, modifying the fields within the quick edit relatively easy. If you start doing really weird stuff or trying to simplify it, ripping bits out, that's when it gets in the way. If you stay with how it looks, within like reasons, okay, you're not going to do like a custom previews and stuff like that, that's when it starts getting there.
So when you say really weird stuff, what do you mean by... So when you start to do really weird stuff, would you have an example where you hit the brick wall or...
Best bet is look at an example. Sign up to Happy Tables, they've already hit the wall and went with their own admin. Sign up, it's free to sign up, have a look at their admin area and you'll see what I mean by they want it to simplify it, target the experience and generally get rid of the clutter and theming. Also remember when you're dealing with WordPress admin, there is a lot of legacy CSS. Anybody that looks at the admin CSS, they just probably walk away straight away.
It's kind of light on access points as well, so there's something if you want to get in, you just want to get in and sort it out.
If you really want to simplify it and really hone in the user experience for your hosted application, the admin will have to go. But that's more, there's,
Do you know anybody that's actually taken it upon themselves to correct plugin that has a better admin interface, as it gives you a brand new admin?
No. Is a simple answer to that? No. Do you?
No.
No, I've come across themes,
Oh yeah.
but I tend to be a fan of trying to keep the WordPress theme, the admin theme, because people are used to it. Your users know how to use it. If you start throwing in different colours, people get confused.
The thing is there any work that you do with customising, like the styling, gets undone every time they release a new style version. You've got to redo that.
Yeah.
Whereas if you build your own admin, you don't have to worry about them bringing it on your admin.
Yeah. Later.
I was just thinking on that. I think the whole thing that makes WordPress so popular is how easy the admin is to use.
Exactly.
So, first of all, if you're going to start messing around that with that beyond the constraints of what's allowable through the core, then you've got to ask the question, should you be using WordPress? Alternatively, we've done things in the past where we've built front-end admin systems to integrate with the WordPress functionality. As another option.
Yeah. No, that plugin I said earlier, Front End Pro, allows you to build your own admin screens on the front end of the website. The WordPress admin by default allows everybody to do everything. It is everything to everybody. If you've built an application that's very targeted, and you want to allow it to be pretty simple, but you still want to keep the admin side of things, that's when you build your own admin section. You can obviously do what you've done and put it in the thing. It's just, horses for courses.
This has to be the last question.
Cool.
Can you put those slides up online and possibly write a blog post for that, because it was awesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Cheers.